I think we do have to start with something that absolutely dominated the news cycle. And it's fascinating to watch this story unfold because where we were on Friday and where we are on Monday, two completely different places. I'll tell you what I'm going to do, though. Before we delve into this, let's hear from Bruins president Cam Neely. This is from earlier on Monday. This after, the Bruins were basically forced to do what Arizona did and basically walk away from Mitchell from Mitchell Miller. So have a listen. Here is Bruins president Cam Neely on Monday.
What's your message to the victim's family after all of this?
Well, as I said, and I'll say it again, I want to apologize to Isaiah and his family. It's something that they shouldn't continue to go through.
All right, guys. I mean, I don't even know where to start with this other than to say I thought Fluto in Boston and Sean Gentile both nailed columns on Friday and in through the weekend. So I got to tip my hat to them. Just phenomenal job. But let's talk this out on the podcast. One of the most head-scratching decisions we've seen in a long time. Julian, man, you and I were texting about this on what day it was, Friday. I'm like, I'm like, I can't wait to get to Monday. Now, obviously, the story has changed quite a bit, but this is one of the most head-scratching 48 hours I've seen from an NHL team. And that's saying something where the news cycle has been around this sport.
For me, just trying to follow this, it just felt like every few minutes there was some other wrinkle to this thing that would make you go like, wow, like I can't believe this is a thing. And then something else would come and you'd be like, wow, they really did this. And it just kept mounting and mounting. It just had all these different twists. Like the fact that we hear the news of Mitchell Miller being signed to an entry-level contract. And then within a few hours, an interview or portion of an interview between Patrice Bergeron and Elliot Friedman surfaces, and he already has to defend this. Or sorry, not defend it. He didn't defend it. He did the exact opposite of it, which is a whole other thing we should get into. The fact that he has to already address it is crazy. The fact that we heard from Gary Bettman so soon was also crazy. And the fact that, he went out of his way to be like, no, like, I don't think Mitchell Miller is eligible. It would take a lot for him to get to that point. Like the reactions to this story are a big point for me because I don't know, I'm so used to, being a fan of professional sports. We see teams and leagues take second chances all the time on people who have had prior transgressions that maybe other people would look at and be like, wow, I don't know if we should be giving this person this second opportunity to play this sport, but teams find ways to justify it. And it's entirely possible that in a different era, a different time, Mitchell Miller would be granted that possibility. But to hear fans speak out is one thing. But for Patrice Bergeron, Nick Foligno, and Brad Marchand in particular, to mention the culture they've built in the locker room and how they have concerns about all of this was very surprising. To hear Gary Bettman, who, look, we've had his feet to the fire about Chicago and so many other things, to hear him basically try to close the door on Mitchell Miller coming to the NHL. That was very surprising to me. There's another wrinkle to this that is also very surprising to me that I think I'll get into later. But the first thing I want to start off with is just say that the fact that people reacted, not just fans, but the fact that people in the hockey world reacted the way that they did, and we know the NHL, or at least the people in it, as perhaps people who could be a little bit more progressive than they should be. That is the biggest surprise in all of this for me. That's not to say they fixed hockey culture or anything. That is just maybe it's fine for me to say a pleasant surprise in all of this for me.
That's where I'm at with this. Like, this is simultaneously the most frustrating and aggravating thing I've seen in hockey in a long time, and also the most encouraging, right? Because you did have hockey players who don't do that, saying, no, we're not cool with this. We have a culture of inclusion and diversity and acceptance here, and this guy doesn't meet our standards. And then you have fans, just destroying the inboxes of the Boston Bruins, fan engagement team, and basically affecting change by saying, no, we don't want this kid either. Look, Mitchell Miller's a really good hockey player. He is tearing it up in the USHL. He's got Cale Makar style numbers right now, and everybody wants to find a Cale Makar. And Bruins players and Bruins fans, almost to a person, said, no, not worth it. don't want this guy. So that's like the most encouraging thing I've seen in hockey in a long, long time. Because I write about this stuff all the time, and you guys do too, about just how relentlessly disappointing it is to be a hockey fan. And this is an incident where you can look at it and say, this is a really good thing that happened, an encouraging sign. But it's also, how the hell did the Bruins do this? How the hell did they, in the year of our Lord 2022, think they could get away with this? With everything, with all the awareness campaigns and everything the NHL says, and hockey is for everyone. Yeah, maybe if we do it on a Friday, maybe we'll get away with it. That's so aggravating to me that these people are still running the sport.
It's stunning because Cam Neely, and we played that clip. Cam Neely says we first broached the idea of this in August. So just stop and think about the absurdity of that August, they're like, we should think about Mitchell Miller, who, is 20-year-old defenseman. Like, all it takes is a cursory search on Google, punch his name in, and you will see that this wasn't a one-off thing. This is when you listen to his mother speak of the victim here, of Isaiah Meyer Carruthers, the mom, says that this started in the second grade right through the sixth grade, use of racial slurs, making the young man eat a like kind of a push pop or lollipop that was in a urinal. This is not behavior that is just boys being boys. It's a one-off. This was targeted for years. And the comment that I thought was the most surprising too, Julian, you said, we hold Gary Bettman's feet to the fire, and sometimes we're critical of him. What do you guys make of this? The comment from Bettman when he says, quote, "I can't tell you that he'll ever be eligible to come into the NHL." Like
that just goes to show like how messed up this kid is. I hate to make it about how messed up the kid is, but he is messed up. He went out of his way to berate this kid while in school with him, to the point where the kid had to take an STD test after that push pop incident. That's disgusting. Look, if the kid wants to put himself in a position where he can rehabilitate himself to be a functioning member of society, look, fine. Go to that point. To get to a point where he's trying to still be an NHL player or a hockey player or catch on with some team, I'm not sure, especially the fact that he had not shown remorse and he tried to apologize to the victim, or at least tried some kind of apology through an Instagram DM. Does that sound like someone who is worthy of getting this privilege to play professional hockey? There are going to be people who are going to listen to this podcast who are going to be like, man, Mitchell Miller, I don't think this guy's going to be able to play in North America anywhere. He's going to have to find a way to make it work in Russia. He's going to have to find to make it work somewhere in Europe. Why the hell should he deserve that opportunity to play anywhere? It doesn't make sense to me. It just doesn't. Just to me. I also want to mention this because Mark mentioned diversity and inclusion. He mentioned those words, diversity and inclusion. And I think of all these people who have tried to make strides in ensuring that, diversity and inclusion is a thing in the National Hockey League. So imagine my surprise when I discovered Eustace King is Mitch Miller's agent. Like, that's as a black man following the sport. Let's take the whole reporting thing out of it. As a black man following the sport, a fan of the sport, trying to, thinking of the game every day, be like, man, I can't believe I'm a black guy in hockey. Seeing that is a big mind F for me. Like, I really look, I'm not gonna be able to provide any real comprehensive thoughts about that. That really bugged me to see that Mitchell Miller, was trying to get back into this league, and Eustace King was trying to, as his agent. Like, that doesn't make sense to me. I'm still trying to find the reasoning why that was the case. Did Mitchell Miller lie to him? Did Eustace genuinely feel that Miller was on the right path? Like, I have so many questions about that. And that's my earlier point that I'm bringing up. There are so many details about this that if you keep reading on and you keep going, you keep digging deeper, you're just like, holy shit, this is such a weird story.
And it is. And the fact that the Bruins didn't do a cursory Google search of this young man tells you everything about just, he has 60 points. Oh, let's sign him. That's basically all it came down to, right? They did no due diligence. They did no homework. Just like, and again, you mentioned that, people are going to be mad at us because we're not giving this kid a second chance. Everyone deserves a second chance. Yeah, you deserve second chances. You have to earn them. What has
Thank you.
Mitchell Miller done to earn this second chance? What has he done to give anyone reason to believe that he's a different person now, besides getting older? And let's not pretend 14 is so long ago. He's a kid still. He's like, what, 20, 19, 20 years old?
20. He's 20 years old.
He's
Boz.
20 years
He's
old.
20.
So this was just 6 years ago. 6 years ago, I was basically the same person I am now. Let's be honest. So it's 6 years is not ancient history. And he has not taken the steps. And Eustace King listed all these things that he's done over the past. Most of them were court ordered. This isn't like he's gone out there and taken the initiative and said, look how different a person I am. He never reached out to the family. He hasn't really apologized in any kind of meaningful way. The argument is consistently, he was just a kid. He was just a kid. He was just a kid. It's a mistake. This is not a mistake. Targeted harassment and racial or racist bullying of another child, of a developmentally disabled child for years on end is not a mistake. It is a window into your soul of who you are as a person, your character. And he does not pass go. He does not collect $200. He has done nothing to warrant this. And again, it was Patrice Bergeron who mentioned diversity and inclusion, not words you're used to hearing out of a hockey player's mouth. And that's, the Bruins wanted no part of this kid. That should tell you everything you need to know, because this kid could make them better in theory, and they want no part of him. He does not deserve this second chance because he has done nothing to earn it.
Yeah, well said. And you know what? Yeah, and Laz's, can I call that a rant? I feel like that was a rant.
Everything
that was
I say is a rant.
That was good. That was good.
Listen to Twitter.
We're getting a lot of rants off on this section.
Yeah, that's. But
well, it's just so mind-boggling, right? Like all three of us we're just baffled that the last 3 days and even happened.
I know, but like, to me, your rant is the perfect answer to anybody who says, "Oh, so we're canceling 8th graders now."
Ugh,
look, we're not. We're not canceling 8th graders. We're canceling people who have no ability to show remorse, no ability to show a desire to be better. That's what we're canceling. And
it's not even canceling. It's consequences. There are consequences.
Yeah, exactly.
If you want to get to canceling, Mitchell Miller probably should have been canceled after the Arizona Coyotes tried to draft him. The Bruins still tried to sign him. Isn't that a sign that canceling doesn't actually do anything? People are like, "Oh, we're canceling people." People don't really get canceled. Cancel culture.
Dave Chappelle's hosting Saturday Night Live this week.
He's hosting Saturday Night Live.
There you go. If that's not an example that
this is the most maddening topic I've ever discussed with regards to the NHL, and we're still over a year out from the Kyle Beach thing. As horrible of a situation that was, this is 10 times more frustrating.
Gary Bettman did not call out Rocky Wirtz for his comments at the town hall, where he basically said, we don't give a crap about this story anymore because he works for the owners. He could ban players, but he's not going to ban owners. Yeah. And what's going to happen? All right, I'm going off on a tangent here, but what's going to happen when someone wants to sign Joel Quenneville to a contract, which will happen? Joel Quenneville is going to be back in the NHL. I'm almost sure of it. He doesn't deserve to be. He shouldn't be. He was a main person in the room who prioritized winning over Kyle Beach's safety. Is Gary Bettman going to stand up and say no to that, or can he only do this to 20-year-old USHL players? That's what I want to see. I want to see Gary Bettman stand up when someone tries to hire Joel Quenneville as a head coach.
Well, that's going to be interesting.
Then I will be impressed.
Okay, that's going to be interesting because let's cards on the table here. There's no way another team. Look, Arizona took a run at him. Boston took a run at him. Can we all agree on this? That Arizona gave this guy a chance. Boston gave this guy a chance. There's no other team in the NHL that's going to give Mitchell Miller a third chance, right? Take Gary Bettman's comments. Gary almost didn't need to say anything. Did he?
It was a layup for him to say that because he knows it can't happen again and nobody can sign this kid now.
No, it's not happening. But Quenneville's interesting because Quenneville, like you said, there hasn't been the team that, he was in Florida and then he was taken out there. But nobody's tried to sign Joel Quenneville as a head coach. Two teams tried to sign Mitchell Miller.
There's been rumblings that Quenneville is on the radar of a lot of teams, but they're wondering about the process and this and that. It's going to happen. He's not an old guy. He's in his early 60s, I think. He's got a lot of coaching left in him, and he wants to come back. And the question is going to be, is the league going to have the same integrity it has with Joel Quenneville that it had with Mitchell Miller? Is it going to stand in the way of a team doing it then? Or is a year of isolation, of banishment going to be considered sufficient punishment?
I have a question. Gary Bettman, when asked about Mitchell Miller, said he would need to see a lot from him to get to a point where he would even think about clearing him and making him eligible.
Mhm.
What my question is, what would he need to see from Joel Quenneville if it gets to that point to make him eligible?
Okay, so here's where I think there's a very distinct and important difference between Quenneville and Miller.
100%.
Joel Quenneville is a grown-ass man when
100%.
that was happening, right? How old was he? Laz, in his late 40s?
Late 40s, early 50s.
Whatever. You know, that's old enough to know that if I think that there's something wrong to that extent, that nature, I need to stop that. I need to step in. Somebody needed to be the adult in the room.
Can
right?
you tell that to Kevin Cheveldayoff, a grown man who was in that room who got away because he was just too low on the totem pole? Like he was a 40-something-year-old grown man who was in that room, and Gary Bettman was fine with it. Fine with it.
Yo, Mark is going in today.
Yeah, I know.
Every single person, like I'm eyeballs deep in this story for the last year and a half. And I have no time for any of the 7 men that were in that room because, Stan Bowman's his statement was like, I was just a first-year GM. I was scared. None of this holds any water with me at all. If you were a grown-ass man in that room and you never said anything to anybody, then I got no time for any of you. I'm sorry.
So I guess
I'm not sorry.
Well, I guess the question is because people will say you should have an opportunity to rehabilitate. Like, I guess, and go back to Julian's question, is there anything that Joel Quenneville can do at the age of 60, whatever, to show contrition or remorse or growth that would satisfy people to say, you know what? Yeah, God, I don't know.
Possibly, but the fact that it's been a year, it's been a year, and I haven't seen any of it. Right? He hasn't done anything publicly. He hasn't acknowledged.
I don't know anything about that either.
I don't know. I'd like to see it.
Yeah, and when I bring that up, like, I'm not saying like, oh, we should give Joel Quenneville the second, third chance and, be nice to him and all that. Like, I genuinely want to know what that threshold would be or the criteria would be in the eyes of the NHL.
You know what?
Let someone like him back in. I genuinely would want to know what that is.
You know what I would want to know? I think
it's a 6-game losing streak is the threshold to let him back in.
Well, you know what? I'll tell you what I think the threshold should be. I'm not saying it will be, it should be. And it shouldn't be from us in the media, and it shouldn't be from Gary and the NHL and the owners. It should be from Kyle Beach. Kyle Beach should be the one to be able to sit in a room. This is all if he wants to. If he doesn't want to, it's his decision. Mm-hmm. But I think at some point, if you're Joel Quenneville, you need to look that man in the eyes, and that would be the opportunity for me to see, okay, and right. Don't do it on TV, don't do it on camera, that's what I'm hoping. Private, right? Have a meeting in private.
I am hoping against hope. That's what's been happening this past year, is that in private, he's reached out, he's made amends, he's taken some kind of courses to help better understand the workplace dynamics and all this stuff. If he came out and all of a sudden he had looked like, this is all the things I've done in the past year, and I didn't do it publicly, I'd be much more inclined to think, all right, this is someone who learned a lesson here. But he basically said that summer of I don't remember this, or this isn't whatever, I don't know. Like, I've never seen any actual comments of contrition. I don't think he said anything publicly since he resigned from the Panthers, as far as I know. No, it would be an amazing thing, and I would be much more impressed if he has been. If Kyle Beach says, "Oh yeah, Joel Quenneville reached out to me 11 months ago, and we had a good long talk about this, and I feel better about where he is, and I think he understands now, and he's grown." Then all right, then we can start talking about this.
Yeah,
but I hope against hope that I'm so wrong about this, and that he has done this work. But if it doesn't happen until a team wants to hire him, then it's just transactional. If he reaches out to Kyle Beach because Team X, who needs a coach, said, "Hey, we want to hire you, and we don't want the PR flack. Why don't you do something?" That doesn't carry the same weight to me as doing it because he felt he should. It's because he feels he has to. It's not the same thing to me.
Alternatively, and maybe we'll one day reach a point where more and more teams just feel that players or coaches like that are just not worth the PR flack. Teams who are in need of new coaches could just look to somebody else.
There are other coaches in the world. Yes.
There are other coaches who exist. We do not need to recycle the same coaches in the same damn coaching carousel to make it work. There might be some other newer thinking mind. Maybe there's another player out there who has little to no coaching experience who they can put up as a head coach in the National Hockey League, or someone else who's actually done the work to put themselves in that position to get themselves a chance behind an actual NHL bench. We don't necessarily need to have a guy like Joel Quenneville. I get it. He's one, but and
he's a really good coach. There's no denying
he's a good coach. Fine. But he doesn't have to get that opportunity. We don't have to just take him just because of the fact that, man, he was good and he won those chips all those years ago.
I'm sorry.
We don't need that.
Julian, have you met the NHL?
Also, can I say something else too? I'm damn tired of people who hear stuff like this affecting hockey culture. And then it's like, but this affects other parts of society too. We can't just throw it up on hockey. We work in hockey. We cover the damn sport.
Yeah.
We're going to make it about hockey because it's a problem that affects the damn sport. We get it affects other parts of society.
Stick to
But
not
stop
hockey? Is that the
Stick to
hashtag?
not. What do you want me to do? Good Lord.
You can't win.
Yeah.
You stick to hockey, you're screwed. You stick to not hockey, shut up and talk about hockey. It doesn't work.
Ian,
Yeah,
Mark, I'm sorry
exactly.
that I'm having moments where I'm just like kind of being a little delirious here.
No,
But
well,
again,
hey,
this is,
you know what?
This is the
Laz,
most maddening topic.
He's finally.
This was one of the most baffling weekends ever. I
Yeah.
think we're all in the same headspace.
I'll tell you what,
Yes.
Julian has spent 4 weeks as an NHL beat reporter, but now he sounds exactly like one who's covered it for 20 years. There you go. Hey, I'll tell
All
you
I'm
what.
missing here is gray beard.
Yeah.
I shaved this morning just so I wouldn't have one.
Love
Oh
it.
my
Hey,
God.
listen, again, we'll see what happens with Mitchell Miller, moving forward. I thought Patrice Bergeron said it best on Monday when he said, you know what? Now we can all just turn the page.
You know what? That bothered me just a little bit. If I can get back on my high horse, which I live on, I would have loved for the Bruins to somehow not just turn the page, to figure out a way to spin this into something positive that happened beyond just, okay, Patrice Bergeron's a mensch. Good for him. We like him. Like, it would be nice if the Bruins said, you know what, we want to make sure that this kind of stuff doesn't happen. We want to get involved. We want to reach out to the kid to Isaiah. We want to reach out. Like, I'd like to see that. I think that could be really meaningful if they did something. Don't just turn the page. Don't just pretend the last 4 days didn't happen. Try to use it to do something meaningful and something positive that reflects that culture that they're talking about.
I'll say this. I think there's still time for them to do something.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
There absolutely is, and they could totally do that. I will also say this. I don't know if they meant to do this or if this really has any significance, but the fact that they played Karma Police by Radiohead after all of that, there's something about that like thinking of the lyrics, I'm like, okay, all right. That's
for a
an
minute
interesting
there,
locker
they
room.
lost themselves. Yeah.
They did, yes. They sure did.
Well, I'll
This
tell
is what
it
you
was
get
a
when you mess with us, apparently.
Yeah,